get the old Emmanuel remote to stop the music and
Oh yeah.
kick us over.
So we do it.
One of these days I'll get a nice remote that we can do that, from here. Just,
That'll be good. Yeah.
maybe I'll get my 5-year-old. Just hey, click that button.
Yeah. Cheap labor. It's the best way to do it. Yep.
Anyways, we're back.
Hey.
Just chatting with True Dad Materia.
It's our casual setting.
Yeah.
We have our business setting that is us playing video games, and then we have our casual setting that it's like just chatting. We're just chatting.
We're just chatting. This is the laid back conversation on the hot topic today.
Mm-hmm.
Kids on dope.
Yeah. Yeah, see, there are more kids addicted to dope these days. I'd say in 2023, more kids addicted to dope than ever before.
This is true.
More adults addicted to dope than ever before.
Yeah.
And I think that the culprit, I mean, there are a lot of culprits. There are a lot of reasons for this. I think the biggest one is probably right now, probably TikTok.
Yeah, it's got to be TikTok.
Yeah.
As bad as it sounds, I'm gonna say YouTube Shorts also, and I'm addicted to YouTube Shorts. So.
Oh yeah, they're all bad.
Yeah.
They're all a leading cause of dopamine addiction.
Yep.
See, huh? We're talking about dopamine. You probably knew that because you're smart, but we didn't know that until just now.
Yeah, no, we just realized what we were talking about, and thanks to you for being here to let us talk it out, so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We appreciate your help. Anywho, so that's the topic today: kids on dope, and it's not going to be specific to kids. I think kids is definitely, priority, being that we're supposed to raise our younger generation correctly and whatnot. But
yeah, I don't want to say we're too far gone as adults, but if we can spare our children the harmful effects of dopamine addiction, or rather not necessarily effects, just byproducts, consequences.
Yeah, consequences is a good word.
Yeah, we can help set them up for a better life. So we're going to talk today about dopamine addiction, how dopamine works to a degree. I mean, we're not Andrew Huberman, but I've watched
I'm not
enough
a scientist,
that I can regurgitate his information fairly well. I've also learned about dopamine from a lot of other things.
I've read blogs, so I'm basically a doctor now.
Yeah, we both have Facebook accounts.
Yep.
We're experts.
Yep.
So no, that's we're gonna talk a little bit about that, but really largely about our experience.
Yes, firsthand.
Things that we've learned from other people who are experts, and how we can apply this to both our children's lives and then our lives moving forward, and how maybe if you haven't fallen into the same traps we have, you can set yourself up to accomplish your goals in life as well. So this may be a life-changing podcast.
Yeah, could be.
Life-changing conversation for you.
Yeah, and even on top of that, there'll be some pointers. Maybe if you don't realize, or you're like me and you're like, no, I'm not addicted. I don't have an issue. I just, I can choose when I set my phone down. It's just when I, am in the bathroom, it's going to take 10 minutes longer than it should.
Yeah.
If you're like that, like me, I should say, then, we'll give some kind of pointers on, what that looks like. And then you can be like, oh yeah, I do all of those. And that's exactly what happens. So, yeah. So to get started, let's I'm going to give a brief overview of my understanding of dopamine. Yeah.
How it works, what it's for.
Sure.
And we can then kind of proceed to talk about, positive use and negative use of this understanding. So dopamine is more or less the reward and motivation center or functionality of the body. So dopamine is like a happy chemical. I've heard it referred to as a hormone. Yeah, I know.
I don't know if it's really a hormone.
So we don't necessarily know all the proper terminology, so forgive me if I say something just a little wrong, but here's my general understanding. It is a chemical in the brain that is released when you are looking forward to something, thus creating motivation toward achieving that thing. And then also when you experience something you like the reward of what you were looking forward to.
Yeah, like
So-
completing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is heavily tied. The way that I tend to think about it, it's most associated with a sense of progress. So if you're thinking about a goal or a task or an accomplishment that you want, and you get a hit of dopamine thinking about it, if you then do that thing and feel a sense of accomplishment, you get another hit of dopamine for it.
Yeah.
Less of a hit than when thinking about it. So if you have goals in mind that you want to accomplish,
Yeah.
it is best to not do it solely for the reward, but to do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of,
For
hidden
setting the goal, not necessarily for completing the goal, but setting good goals. It's good for as odd as it is to say, it's good for character building.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. So essentially, if you want to get the most good out of dopamine, you will use it to motivate you to do things that can lead to whatever outcome you want. So
Sure.
so for me, in marketing, if I wanted to successfully use dopamine for good instead of for bad, I would set goals, small goals,
Yeah.
of I want to create this YouTube video. I want to set up this ad account. And then afterward, I will give myself some form of reward.
Yeah.
So
Candy.
Candy's a good
Yeah,
one. I
it's a
do
great
that
one.
at work sometimes. Cup of
Yep.
coffee.
Oh, that's even better.
I'll go outside for a walk after I finish this. Whatever it is, you don't necessarily want to do it just for the reward, but the reward helps you, especially in the beginning stages, to benefit from whatever it is that you're going to do.
From the task. Yeah.
Yeah. So then over time, if you can get to where you love the thing that you're doing
Mm-hmm.
more than the reward of doing it, or if you have multiple levels where I need to do this thing that I really enjoy, but I can't do it until after I've done this thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's this step 1 and step 2, then you can kind of get to that point where the journey is more of a reward than the reward at the end. The peak.
For sure.
Because the difficulty that we often find ourselves in is we look forward to this thing, we finally get it, and we're like, we get that feeling of, oh, is that all? Gonna leave all marriage talk out of it, but my wife is coming to terms with being married to me, and I'm not as adventurous as I seemed when we were dating.
I mean, he's a drummer. Most drummers are like pretty out there. They're the rock climbers of the world.
Yeah.
I don't. Have you? You've probably never been rock climbing. Have you been?
A lot. Yeah, I helped my dad build
okay.
a
Yeah.
rock
See, I
climbing
was
wall in
right.
his
Yeah.
basement.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, he is adventurous.
I just don't do the stuff that I've done before.
Yeah.
Like, I've conquered that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, you also have kids now, so that
Yeah, I'm just tired.
that
That's
does
all it is.
that changes it drastically.
I'm going to stop talking circles around kind of my vague understanding of
Sure.
dopamine.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about our experiences
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
In regards to video games, because video games are an easy source of dopamine. I'm playing
yeah.
Clicker Heroes.
Yeah. I saw that actually.
Yeah. And so Clicker Heroes, the entire purpose of that game, or any idle game, is progression. It's dopamine. So you are building up, making more money for pretend, not real life.
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. To then buy more damage to make more money faster and get to higher levels. So there's a sense of progression in that you are building how much money you make, that's a reward. How much damage you do, another reward. There's a little bit of variety in the bosses and in the different like monsters you're beating.
It's a
Another
rinse and
reward.
repeat type.
Levels.
Yeah.
So a higher number in levels, that's a reward, that's progression. And then as you go, you unlock things like artifacts and mercenaries and like new heroes that help do damage. And so there are several small things that come together to build an overlapping multi-tiered reward system for progressing.
Yeah.
And it's all incredibly empty and hollow So, but it never ends. So it continues to build up this
Yeah.
dopamine of how much further can I get? How much more?
Yeah, there's almost a promise of, like your brain saying, "Oh, there's always going to be more dopamine." I mean, it's just like YouTube
Right,
Shorts. I
right.
mean,
It'll feel good to unlock this next level
Oh,
of
yeah.
damage. It will feel
Yeah.
good to finally beat this boss. It will feel good to go into the office and see how much money I made overnight.
yeah.
Um,
I don't have that. I've never had that problem.
yeah, it.
I feel like every time I go to the office, I spend money.
It's for pretend money.
Oh, okay, right,
It's not real
right.
money.
That's-
So, yeah.
That's a little deceiving, I was
Slightly deceitful.
That's
yeah.
okay. That's okay. Yeah. Well, and one thing. I mean, he's absolutely right. And one thing you got to keep in mind is there are is as funny of a phrase this is, there are negative side effects to dopamine.
Oh yeah.
Dope is bad. No, it's not bad. It's actually one of those things that needs to be balanced. Because dopamine is actually good for your brain. However, too much dopamine can cause things like anger. Like if you get just really mad all of a sudden for no reason, that could be it, not always, could be because of too much dopamine. ADHD has been proven that it's part of too much dopamine.
Yeah. Well, there's a kind of one of the hidden daggers behind dopamine, if you will, is that it screws up the reward effort calculation
Oh yeah.
that your brain goes through every time you think about doing something. So if I think about doing work, if I have anything hard that approaches me at work, which
Yeah.
is, a lot of things.
Sure. Yeah.
It's tedious sometimes to build out a new campaign. And
Yeah. Every day's new. Yeah.
Right. If I have to think about doing something difficult, but then I can just quickly, easily click open Clicker Heroes,
Sure.
buy a couple of upgrades, and then feel a sense of progress or feel rewarded,
Yeah.
that's much easier reward than doing the hard things.
Yeah.
So you can train yourself to stop doing hard things, which is like everything that you need to do to progress in life, in anything, in relationships, in business, in like survival.
Yeah. Well, and that's, kind of a real world aspect of that. I mean, if we think of back in the day, and this is a ways back before the time of grocery stores, right?
Yeah.
How did you get your food? You were probably in a small community. I say you as if any of us were alive at that point.
Oh, I was here.
But but you were probably in a small community. You had Farmer John who had milk cows, and you had chickens, and you had a farm. Maybe everybody had a farm at that point. And you did the hard work on the farm, and you harvested whatever it was you were growing. Your reward, as silly as it sounds, was your food. It was it was being able to survive to the next day.
Yeah.
And now we've gotten to the point, which, I mean, I use the grocery store. Shoot, I use fast food, right?
Weak.
It's but in all reality, we've taken the easy road.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying go out there, everyone needs to start a farm. I did. My wife and I did, and we actually have a massive amount of tomatoes and jalapenos. So
Yeah.
there's that. That's a reward. You know how exciting it is. I mean, it's I watched my wife go out there, and she just sits there and stares at the garden, because it's rewarding looking at something that is growing, that like you planted and you've put the work in, you've kept it growing, you've kept fertilizing it, you've kept watering it.
Yeah.
And that's hard work. And seeing that reward, and then me seeing her face, shoot, that's rewarding for me, just seeing her face. So all that to say, I agree completely. We've taken the hard, challenging goals off of our to-do list and replaced them with clicker heroes.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, it negatively affects our sense of reward versus effort,
Sure.
our desire to do the things that require effort. You mentioned anger,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it can, in addition to making it feel like nothing difficult is worth doing, especially if you start your day with video games. Like if you pull out your phone in the morning and the first thing you do is play a mobile app, everything that day is going to feel harder than if you deny yourself that quote reward or that sense of progress, that dopamine, until later, which Andrew Huberman talks about, deadening your dopamine receptors with that kind of activity. So if you deny yourself these things more often it will kind of help prime and refresh your dopamine receptors in the brain to allow you to experience a greater sense of reward or greater sense of motivation
Yeah.
toward the things that actually require effort.
Yeah. No, I agree completely.
So the anger thing, yeah.
Yes.
Bring it full circle. You can, if you don't feel progress in your life, in your real life, and you are using video games as a crutch to feel progress, and then something difficult happens that you have to deal with, usually family related things for us dads, you will get extremely mad, or if things feel out of control, you'll get really mad as this chaos builds, as this lack of control builds, and the effort required to do the things that you have to do seems so great and so difficult.
Oh yeah.
And you feel like you just can't get ahead.
Yeah.
You get really, really mad because you feel helpless. You feel afraid that you can't do what needs to be done.
That you don't have enough strength, or knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. Or that you're overwhelmed. That everything just seems so exhausting.
Oh yeah.
Well, part of that is because you're deadening your desire to do anything that requires effort.
Yeah.
Your reward for playing video games is so much greater to your brain synthetically than the reward of spending time with your kids, spending time with your wife, just sitting and being somewhere in silence. Looking at tomatoes growing. You know? It's
Right.
like there is so much peace and reward in doing something like that.
Yeah.
It's very meditative, very relaxing, and kind of helps refresh the brain.
Yeah, it's resetting.
Yeah.
It really resets you. And that's, if you find yourself, I don't know, depending on what you do for work. I mean, Ryan's in kind of the marketing world. I'm kind of in a construction-ish world. Both have their own different factors of stress or, areas of being overwhelmed. But you almost need some form, a word for it that, we Christians use is Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And not only does it mean, the day of rest and, the day of, thanking God for that rest, but it also means just a day to sit and not, stress about all the things that are going on. Obviously thank God for what you have, but on the flip side, also just sit and take in what is there, mm-hmm. And just be at peace.
Yeah.
And so something, this is a more recent thing actually, and anybody who knows me is going to be maybe a little shocked by this. I've actually taken on fishing because as odd as it sounds, just going out and sitting on the river or sitting in the river, because I love just wading into the water.
Yeah.
It's like a hybrid of swimming and fishing. Mm-hmm. Is really refreshing. Obviously you're in nature, so you're in God's creation anyways.
Yeah.
But the flip side is you're just sitting there. And maybe, you're casting, you're doing something very minimal. There's really there's no brain activity, right? There's no need to think through complex things. And then of course the fun side of it, and the dopamine side of it is every once in a while you catch a fish.
Yeah.
Of course it makes you want to do it again, but it's relaxing. You're just sitting there.
Yeah.
And so what we would encourage you to do is find something, that, maybe it's not fishing. Maybe it's not watching a garden grow. Maybe it's watching every sunset. Yeah. Just go out back and stare at the sun as it goes down. That's actually really, really good for you as well. So we would recommend finding something like that to do, to both reset your brain as well as break that habit of constantly needing that next dopamine hit of, a YouTube short or video game, which, I mean, I've played video games for many years. You've played video games for many years. So we know firsthand how addictive that can be.
Yeah, and every now and then it can be really beneficial to take a break from video games for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
I don't do it every year, but sometimes for Lent, I will give up video games for a solid 40 days. It's 6 weeks. And it is always helpful. I mean, I generally tend to replace it with other things. So, like we have that addiction that needs to be broken rather than just replaced.
Sure.
But it tends to be like if I'm replacing video games with like reading physical books, that's the lesser of two evils, I think we can safely assume.
Yeah.
If I am then reading books and getting mad at my kids, and like, like, stop distracting me, I'm reading a book. Very Julian Smith,
You have other things. Yeah. You have other things going on.
Then maybe I just need to take a break from like all forms of activity or schedule times during the day where I'm not going to do those things.
Yeah.
So I tend to now read after the kids have gone to bed.
Yeah, that's good.
And I to wait to play video games until after they've gone to bed.
Sure.
And that helps a bit. So.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, so kind of to bring it full circle, the next we've talked about dopamine and its effects, both good and bad.
Yeah.
I guess the next thing would be, how do we help our kids kind of create a lifestyle, because this podcast is about being gamers as well as fathers and husbands, right?
Yeah.
So how do we help them, if they enjoy games? For instance, my 5-year-old absolutely loves games and constantly asks when he can play. And I know, as much as it might pain me, it's not because he's playing with me, it's because he's playing a game.
Yeah.
But it, it doesn't bother me because I've been in that. I've been there, so I understand.
Yeah.
But how do we build a, I don't know if you want to call it a curriculum, but some sort of goals or mindset to both healthily limit dopamine while allowing them to enjoy. I mean, it's not always games. It could be, cartoons or TV shows or whatever it might be.
Even if it's educational, it can be really harmful to the brain to have that level of stimulation, especially in the developing brain of a toddler or young child.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, one easy answer is limits.
Yeah.
Certain amount of time per day or per week even.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that it's not the default and it's not something, it's viewed as a special thing. It's like we have certain days that our kids can play their tablets.
Yeah.
They get an hour, and then not all of them play. We will have certain times that we break it out as, like a necessary parental help.
Yeah, I need to make dinner. You go play with your tablet.
Right. So, which is not a helpful thing for them in the long term. But the limitations are helpful, and then associating it with like being a treat or not a normal thing can also be helpful. So that they do view the thing itself as a reward.
Sure.
And I think that if you are also trying to balance it with more analog behaviors, more activities, let's play outside, let's go on a walk, let's do, keeping them active and doing things that require creativity rather than force feeding them stimulation and
absolutely
like pre-made solutions. So.
Well, and this kind of goes back to what I had said earlier about quote unquote simpler times. Let's get back to that. I mean, if you don't know, how to teach your kid how to work on a car, or if you don't know how to teach your kid how to grow a garden, then go discover it with them. I mean, it's silly. Go look at the screen, look at Google, look up, how to do it. Sure. But the point is, go out there and challenge yourselves to get the healthy amount of dopamine, and not for the reward as much as, for challenging yourself.
Yeah.
But also building a skill set that is more than just playing a game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I have nothing against professional gamers. I had a short stint where I strongly desired to be a professional gamer.
Yeah.
I knew going in that was not going to be healthy, and my wife made sure multiple times to let me know that was accurate. It was not going to be healthy, and I don't think it would have been. I don't know many professional gamers that are married with kids. I don't know if that's a extremely popular. Maybe not the best relationship with their spouse or kids. But go find something like Ryan said. I mean, something creative. If that's building something, if it's drawing something, go use your hands out there.
Yeah. So. The library, kids love the library.
Yeah.
Better if you're going to get stimulation from pre-made things, better to get it from a book and paper than from a screen that is constantly moving and kind of actively changing so that the kid is getting more dopamine from, okay, what's going to happen next, and this is happening, then this is happening, and this is happening. And a lot of times with TV, like when we let our kids watch stuff, we try to go for like longer form movies.
Yeah.
Because if you leave them to, like, when our kids play tablets, sometimes, you know, like my wife's super sick and pregnant and I'm exhausted, we'll let our kids have them for longer.
Yeah.
Well, they're skipping between things. Even if you put a movie on their tablet, they're moving it around all over the place.
Yeah.
So if you put a movie up on the TV and make them sit, you know, quote, make them sit through 2 hours,
You just strap them down.
then, you know, they have to finish what they started.
Yeah.
Which can be helpful. Or finding like slower TV shows.
Yeah.
So like Sarah and Duck. It's a BBC show, super cute, very slow, soft, gentle music. It's funny, kids love it, but it's so much slower.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something we've realized with our 5-year-old is that we, you know, he doesn't necessarily have trouble speaking. We think that his understanding was stunted a little at first because a lot of the TV shows that he had watched when he was younger and sometimes still watches, they're just a lot faster paced. So there's a lot of things happening, a lot of people talking, there's a lot of action, and it's too much information for his brain to comprehend. And so it kind of caused this moment where he doesn't know how to sit and listen to you. You know, there's been plenty of times where, you know, Jenny or I have said, you know, I need you to pick up this, this, and this. And then I'll go, okay. And then, okay, what did I just say? I don't know. And it's like, okay, look at me, you know, and he looks, and then he kind of looks off. And he looks off. And it's because when he was younger, and this is, you know, it's just one of those circumstance things. We have 4 kids under 5, so we have all of them at the same age, and because of those circumstances, there were plenty of times where we needed those moments of, all right, you need to watch this because I needed an hour of sleep, or you know, you woke up 3 hours early and you're not going back to sleep. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to fall asleep on the couch next to you while you watch this, right?
Yeah.
But that's caused issues, and they're not major. Obviously, this is, you know, we're slowly working through this, but some of the things we've actually started doing is paying very specific attention to his moods. So for instance, he's been playing, I think I mentioned this on last month's podcast, but he's been playing different games, one of which was Astro from the PlayStation library. It's like the Astro whatever. And he was getting really frustrated with it, and he started crying, and you know, that's when it immediately struck me, like, he's so focused on having to be able to beat it that he's not even enjoying playing the game that he's wanting to play so bad. You know, so that was one of those, I had to sit him down and say, okay, buddy, you know, look at yourself, you know, think of what you feel right now. I said, are you having fun? And he goes, yes. I said, now wait a second, you're crying. I said, you're upset and you're trying to hand me the controller so I can beat the game for you, which I'm not going to do because you wanted to play. I'm going to let you play.
Yeah.
And I said, so let's think about this. Are you having fun? He goes, no, I'm sad. I said, so this is what we need to do. We need to take a break. We need to put it away, because what we wanted out of that game, the desire that we had for that game, is not what came. It was something different. It was unexpected either, or it was just undesired. You know, it wasn't what you wanted. And so that's something we've had to start paying attention to. And one thing you'll notice with kids, and everyone says, you know, lessen screen time, and I agree completely, but part of that is because of their attitudes. Either they get, you know, frustrated quicker, or they're less attentive, which really isn't an attitude thing, or they're actually sad much quicker.
Yeah.
And there'll be something, you know, almost like a flip of a switch. They'll be, you know, laughing and playing, and you'll say, you know, not like you're hounding them like you're gonna, you know, beat them or something. You just walk up and be like, okay, you know, we need to clean this so that we can go, I don't know, we're going to the pool or something. And they'll immediately stop and they'll start crying and be like, but I don't want to. I wanted this. I wanted that. And it's not because that's how fast their mood swing. It's because their brains just took that information and jumbled it all up because that's what it's been used to doing for what, all the TV shows and all that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's also, so young children, they have the emotional part of the brain, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and all of the parts that process emotion.
All the big words.
Yeah, the lizard brain, if you will, or the monkey brain. But they don't have a prefrontal cortex to be able to actually logically think through things. So if you're trying to explain logic to your kids, they're not going to get it. Tried anyway. It still doesn't.
I was gonna say, it doesn't stop me.
Right? Yeah, I still try. Because you want to teach them, but
Sure.
but it doesn't really compute. So they can get cause and effect to a degree. They can make these connections, but it may take a lot of time. So patience and repetition. But in these cases, it's likely the same thing that we're experiencing, but to a much more magnified degree of
Sure.
they're overstimulated, their dopamine receptors are deadened, nothing feels as good anymore, nothing is as fun anymore.
Yeah.
Our kids a lot of times now these days are saying things like, I didn't have fun today, or I'm not having fun.
Yeah.
And we kind of have to remind them, well, that's not the point of life.
Yeah.
Despite what everybody may tell you on the internet now.
Yeah. Right.
It's the point of life is not to be happy. The point of life is not to have fun. That's part of it, and we want to work toward that.
Sure.
But what about today wasn't fun? What about when you were doing this and seemed to be having a lot of fun? What about was this a lot of fun? Did you have fun doing this?
Yeah, all those times you were laughing and smiling.
But if you get to the end of a day and they're overstimulated, they've had too much dopamine, and those little dopamine receptors are just dead and shriveled.
Oh yeah.
Then you may ask them to do something like color or go play outside, and they don't have the attention span for it. Well, it may just not seem rewarding anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or they think it's boring, and that's one thing I've noticed the difference between my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old. I'll mention, do you want to color? Because we'll take a break from TV or whatever we're doing. You want to color? And my 2-year-old's like, oh yeah, I want to color, and so I'll print off little coloring sheets for her to color, and my 5-year-old's like, no, I don't want to. But as soon as she starts coloring, he's like, oh, I want to color.
Yeah.
Because the immediate response is based on the dopamine levels.
Yeah.
And their immediate response is no, because I don't get an immediate reward. I get, if I keep watching TV, then I get to just sit there and keep watching and soaking in information. Versus, the 2-year-old hasn't been under that. So she's not under the influence. She's not under the influence that heavily, that she's still excited about, things like coloring and playing with Magnetiles and, throwing Legos at other children. It's pretty normal.
Well, if you find, you take a day off of screen time, or even, you have a little bit and then you take the rest of the day off, and then the next morning your kids are having fun playing together. Your kids are having fun playing with toys. They're using their imagination. They're playing pretend. All of the helpful things that stimulate creativity and help them learn social interaction and things like that. It's not something that's happening while they're sitting and watching TV or playing their tablets. And
for sure.
And I will take this moment to reiterate, as we've tried to do, that we're not those super perfect parents that are like, hey, we are going to tell you exactly what to do because we do it perfectly.
Because we nailed it.
Nobody is that way, and everybody on the internet is full of lies, including us.
Yeah,
but
true.
We do see the negative effects when we do have to, when we feel like we have to rely on.
It's like they say, you learn from your mistakes more than you do your successes.
It's true, yeah.
Having kids is one of the that almost came out. That almost came out wrong. We'll not say it that way. Having kids allows you to make enough mistakes that you realize that making those mistakes.
Yeah.
That's where you learn.
See, when you're younger, you're always a teenager especially, because teenagers know everything. If you're watching this and you're a teenager, you know everything.
Yeah, you're smarter than us.
And that may actually be true. I'm learning a lot from 20-something millionaires. So it's really frustrating. But the thing is that you tell yourself all of these things like, I'm not going to do that when I'm a parent, or I'm going to be this way, or I'm going to
be this kind of parent.
And then you become a parent. Like I was watching Alex Hormozy, or listening to him on YouTube on the way over here, and he was giving parenting advice, and I'm just like, you don't have kids. Bro.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe, you know, anyway. So
I love those.
Now, that doesn't mean that people that don't have kids can't give good advice.
Sure.
They just don't understand the implications of the advice they're giving.
Yeah, well, and sometimes outside perspective is helpful.
Oh, it can be very helpful, yeah.
And especially,
I don't think he was wrong.
Especially for a parent, you know. I know there's plenty of times that, you know, like Ginny and I feel like we're beating our heads against the wall trying to figure out what we're doing wrong, and then someone comes in and it's like, well, have you done this? No, why would I? That makes a lot more sense now that, you know, I have more than like 3 hours of sleep at night, and, you know, don't have screaming kids. Like, well, I mean, Ginny's still stuck with screaming kids, but for the most part, they're actually much better.
That's good.
But still, I mean, you know, you have those outside perspective that come in and really, whether it's 100% accurate, it at least gives you an idea. Yeah. And helps you kind of get a different train of thought going.
Exactly. And I can tell you that no parent wants advice on parenting.
Yeah.
We can still benefit from it. So if you are a dad and somebody gives you advice, put your pride aside. So like, as I just, you know, scoffed at Alex Hormozy's, you know, like, oh, you're not even a dad, like, and you're trying to give me parenting advice. But you know, the advice he was giving, like, made sense. So
it's still logical sound advice.
Right? Yeah, I hate that. So just put your pride aside and listen, and if it is good advice, try to learn from it. You know, and don't always default to making an excuse for why it won't work for you, which is very easy to do. And just do your best to accept and learn from any information. You know, take the good, let the bad go.
Yep.
But try to learn from all of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think at the end of the day, it is just a learning process. We're not perfect. We're not going to be perfect. We are going to make a lot of mistakes. But, you know, if we can learn from our mistakes, then we can show our kids how to do the same thing. And I think that that's one really important, like one really nice segue into something else I wanted to mention is that
go for it.
With screens or with anything, your kids are learning more by watching you and what you do and how you behave and what you say than by what you tell them they should know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're telling your kids, don't spend so much time on, you know, on your tablet, or don't spend so much time playing video games or watching TV, and then you're always walking around, you know, on your phone. I can't even count the number of times my kids in the past have been like, why are you on your phone? Put your phone away and listen to me. And it's like, oh, I'm a terrible parent.
Yep.
Which I was not a terrible parent for having my phone out, but the amount of times that I was like not listening, you know, not listening to my kids, and or like they're playing and trying to have fun and I'm like texting for work or something, or even like playing a game on my phone.
Sure.
Oh gosh, like you want to feel like a terrible person, have your kid call you out on something like that. When you would call them out for not paying attention to you. Just
well, it's one of those things, especially, you know, if you don't have kids, you might not obviously understand this, but if you have, you know, like nephews or nieces and you see them pick up a phone and bring it to who it belongs to, and they'll, you know, they, like, for instance, our 1-year-old, I mean, he started to say words, and phone is one of them, right? And he knows mama and daddy, and he acts like it's really cute, actually. He picks up the phone and goes, hello? But when the problem is, when they pick up a phone, they know whose it is, they bring it to you, like, there's you know, a connection that they realize they've seen you with that phone so much that they know who it is and that you should have it with you. Like there's not this like foreign like concept of, I don't know what this is. No, they're very, very aware of what that is. And then they learn how to open it, you know, and then they learn how to, you know, push buttons and play with it because they see you using it all the time. And, you know, on that same train of thought, you know, on the as far as, you know, them watching you and you're seeing your reactions, One of the things I have, found recently, which, this is pretty bad when I have a 5-year-old and I've just now started to like pick up on this, but they see how you react to certain situations and in your voice, like in your tone of voice. For instance, our 5-year-old gets very short with our 2-year-old. And to the point of like, they'll be playing with Magna-Tiles, they're playing with colors, or doing whatever they're doing, and he'll Sissy, stop it, and it's at the top of his lungs. And of course I've caught myself, because the first few times I then raise my voice at him and say, you don't talk to her that way, in the same tone.
Yep.
And then it wasn't until a few times into that I realized, what the heck am I doing? He's only doing that because I do that to him.
Yeah.
And it's not a spiteful, I get to do that. That's not what goes through his brain. What goes through his brain is, this is how I react to a situation I don't like.
Yeah.
And so what I've started doing, which it's a bit of a challenge, but what I've started doing is when they, get into a scuff or they're doing stuff they're not supposed to, instead of raising my voice, I calmly can make them aware of the situation. Hey buddy, you're talking to your sister like not very kind. You're not using kind words. Do you hear yourself, and that kind of stuff. Or she doesn't really have all that logic yet, so I'll go to her and be like, hey sissy, let's be nice, okay? We need to be nice. We don't scream, which she is a screamer right now, it's a joy.
Yeah.
But those are, it's hard to do, and it's the same level of difficulty of not picking up your phone and playing a game or reading, I don't know, Instagram. I mean, my wife loves to scroll on Instagram and different news articles and whatever. And, it's hard, especially for mothers. And, this is specifically to you mothers. I understand it, because you're holding a screaming child. The only thing that's going to help them is either if you nurse them or you rock them to sleep. So you're probably stuck in a chair or on a couch in a dark room, sitting by yourself for what feels like an eternity. It may be, 30 minutes, whatever it might be, right? What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you immediately are like, well, I have my phone. I could be, might as well be reading whatever.
Yeah.
I challenge you to not do that. And that's going to be really hard. But the issue is it creates a habit of not just going to that, but almost this sense of, well, if I hold my kid, then I can look at my phone. It kind of almost gets turned on its head of, that's my reward. And my reward is I get to look at my phone.
Yeah. Well, and it also, it does associate feeling stuck with turning to your phone as the solution.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you feel stuck in a place, then you do get that sense of progress from scrolling through social media. You get the feeling of adventure, of seeing new places, of seeing things that are funny and entertainment.
Yeah.
But you do end up kind of training yourself that if something is hard, if I feel stuck, I should turn to the easy thing, the easy reward. And yeah, I can't blame moms as well, because it's just absolutely sucks. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
I think that ebooks are a great solution there, because it does help to have like the backlit screen, especially if you're nursing in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Try and have it on dark mode if you can. That helps you not be overstimulated and helps you sleep better, if you fall back asleep.
Sure.
But if you have like something like reading, then that's easy enough to translate from a phone to an actual physical book.
Yeah.
You do get a sense of dopamine and progress from that. You can get engrossed in a story.
Yeah.
And it's not quite so bad, I think, as like social media or mobile games.
Yeah. New audiobook on Audible is released. This is what Defiant.
Oh, yeah. No, I got a notification.
Did you?
The other day.
Okay. Yeah.
I personally am reading Defiance of the Fall.
Oh, yeah.
Book 9.
Okay. Wow, that's your ways in there.
They're about to come out with 10, or they just came out with 10.
Okay.
So then I'll have to find something else to read.
Yeah, I'm about to wrap up the Wheel of Time series. I just started book 13.
12?
13? No.
I think they only have 12 books.
No.
No.
They did the last book broke into 3.
Wait. Oh no, because 10 was really really slow, and then I thought they had like 11, 12, and
Yeah.
13.
I could look. I know.
Yeah.
I know there's one more after the one I just started.
So maybe there's 14 then.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't remember because I know Sanderson
research.
finished the last one, but he turned it into 3 books because he's Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah. Well, and
Represent
from the
wearing the
sound of
white
it,
shirt.
it needed to be that way.
Yeah, well, and even so, I think that I'm going to give a detailed explanation of everything that happens at the end. No, I'm just kidding. I do think that they
Why won't it tell me?
spent a little too long leading up to the climax
13.
of the story, and then not enough time necessarily on the end.
The actual finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm on 13. So it's 14 books.
Okay,
then.
14 books. Right. So I keep mixing that one up. Yeah, wonderful series. You want to talk about things that are difficult and exerting effort. Books like 6 through 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a slog.
Yeah, sure is.
But audiobooks,
Yeah.
Michael Kramer, Kate Redding,
Audiobooks are a thing.
power couple.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
They have great voices.
Ew.
Anyways, yeah, so if no one's got any comments or anything, we'll probably just go ahead and wrap this up. We are actually, so here's some great news. Ryan and I have talked about this. We're actually going to do this bi-weekly.
Yeah.
So we would love to have, if you have a topic, if you have suggestions, questions,
Yeah.
feel free.
If you are a dad and maybe of not many children or of young children
Or many children.
if you are like dating and thinking about getting married or thinking about having kids, if you are just like have questions about video games in general,
Yep.
or parenting in general, or marriage, in relation to video games, or just being a dude,
Yeah. Yeah,
wanna help.
we will go ahead and forward those questions to someone who knows how to answer them.
And then regurgitate the answer back to you, like the experts we are.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's 90% of the internet.
We will try our best. We will give you what information we have. How about that?
Yeah. You'll get an answer.
An answer.
It's like I always tell people, I have all the answers, whether they're right or in the right order remains to be seen.
Or if I haven't revealed them yet.
Oh yeah.
There's always hidden answers.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. So
wonderful. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for Kids on Dope.
Kids on Dope.
Next week we don't know what we're talking about yet.
Yeah, I actually replaced my own hot water heater yesterday. It's not HVAC related.
See? Talk about a dopamine hit. There you go.
Yeah, it took hours, lots and lots of hours, and I still hadn't drained it all completely when we removed it.
That's not good.
But they put the gas line from my furnace, and then also there's like a pipe that's like this long that comes out from the furnace line. And if they hadn't put that there, I would have been able to just walk it out. But instead, I had to lift it up over. I had to tilt it so it wouldn't like knock the.
You couldn't walk it out. You had to whip it and nay.
Yeah, I had to whip it and nay. And let me tell you, I just about whip it to my back.
Did you drop that thun?
I don't even know what these words are. I mean, I get the reference.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to this episode of Just Chatting with True Dad Materia. If you enjoyed this or would like to hear a specific topic covered, make sure to comment. And of course, to help support our channel and stay in touch with the latest content, be sure to subscribe or follow depending on your platform. If you want to follow our gaming shenanigans, you can find us on Twitch at True Dad Materia. Thanks, and in True Dad fashion, save early and save often.